And welcome to the world of disasters, the state of disasters, California, whether it's earthquakes or fires or now blackouts by Pacific Gas and Electric and other utilities as a way of preventing firefights. This is going to be a big problem this summer.
It could be. There is the potential that power could be out for 3, 4, 5 days in San Francisco, San Jose, and any other area, Contra Costa County, San Mateo County. There could be pockets of power being out for a number of days.
Now, you just had a hearing on this in Sacramento. Why is PG&E talking about just a threat of high winds knocking out so much power all over the Bay Area for fires that might be miles away?
Well, it's not just high winds, it's low humidity and high temperatures. When you combine those, that creates the red flag warning, and the conditions are ripe for a fire. And so their grid is, as we know, not the most resilient. It's been old, it's not in the best shape. So what happens is when those conditions are right, they have to turn the power off in order to prevent the power from the wires from breaking and starting a fire. The challenge is now they're going to be turning off transmission lines which serve entire areas of the Bay Area, San Francisco, San Jose. One wire is coming from across the state, and that wire is turned off. That extension cord is pulled. There's a problem.
Okay, the cynic in me goes, PG&E is facing billions of dollars in liabilities from its wildfire problems and questions about like you said, the hardening or the safety of its wires around the state. So how much of this is PG&E maybe overreacting, saying, well, if you're not going to help us with liability from the fires, we'll just shut down the system at any time and keep it down?
Certainly their goal is to minimize liability, but they've claimed that that is not one of the conditions. They're going to do it.
Do you believe it?
But I think so. I think they will, because they're taking it from the blueprint from Southern California. San Diego Gas and Electric has been doing this for a number of years, and they have a kind of a blueprint that they're following. And I think PG&E identified at the hearing that they are going to follow that.
Okay, so look, I'm living in the Bay Area.
We'll check it after, too.
And we're talking about, the power to your business, to your house, to your apartment complex, going out for 3, 4 days maybe. What am I supposed to do? Go out and buy a generator?
Well, that's what some people are doing, and that would solve the problem, or they have to go to a cooling center or something like that. But this is not sustainable. We can't have every year this problem, and that's why PG&E has to do the job. They have to make the investments and fix their system.
Well, if this is for real, and I'm supposed to get a generator and then figure out, by the way, when this happens, how to hook the generator up to supply power to the entire house without frying or creating a fire there.
Too.
Right, a major investment. I mean, what are people supposed to do? Nobody knows what to do.
It's not expected to. Not everyone's
cloud
expected
hanging
to do that.
over you. You don't know
there
what
is a
to
cloud.
do.
But
what do you mean? On one hand, they're saying we're going to be without power. That means you better get a generator. On the other hand, they're saying,
but I think they're over aggressive when they talk about 4 or 5 days. I think what we're looking at more clearly is maybe 20 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours in a day, because the problem is after they turn the power off, before they can turn it back on, they have to go back out and inspect every wire that is part of that office.
Seriously, Senator, the Bay Area, the entire Bay Area, power being down for 10 hours? I mean,
and what is the notice that they get to turn that off? I'm not supporting that. That's the reality that we're faced with.
This sounds like something out of the third world.
It is something out of the third world. And if we want to maintain California as the 5th largest economy in the world, we can't sustain that with this type of prediction. What business wants to come to California if they think that their power is going to be turned off at no notice, or at least with 20 hours notice or 24 hours notice? It's not sustainable and can't be. But that's the goal, is that after a couple of years, once the system gets hardened enough, that they won't have to turn the power off.
Oh, so we have a couple of years of when you never know.
You are a cynic today, aren't you, Phil?
No, I'm just sitting here. You're sitting here telling me for the next 3 or 4 years. Oh, by the way, come summertime, you may or may not have power for up to 2 or 3 days. Hey, no reason to get upset. We'll work it out. We'll sustain it somewhere down the line. But in the meantime, what?
In the meantime, we have to make sure that they turn it off only when necessary, and that they get it back on quickly, and that they give us the notice and communicate during that process, so we can all sustain ourselves and live as much as the quality of life that we need to.
Oh boy, that sounds like a political answer. But this is, well, how do we get it? We'll have to talk about how we get into this in some other time. In California, the 5th or 6th.
Fifth? No, we're not 6th.
Moved up.
We're the 5th.
We're the 5th largest economy in the
Absolutely.
world, and a lot of that is thriving around the area of tech and tech workers, whether it be somebody working part-time at Google or driving an Uber. It's all part of the tech economy, which, according to a court decision, no longer can be. That part-time work where you are basically an at-will, up or down your own boss type employee is going to end possibly in California thanks to this decision. What's going on?
Well, it's the Dynamex decision. That's the court case, and it happened last year, the California Supreme Court. But it's not just the gig economy. This affects every aspect of our economy. If you are an independent contractor today, that decision was probably based on a former court case, which had different conditions. Now they've isolated those conditions now to define whether you're a contractor or whether you're an employee.
So this could affect anybody, let's say from an Uber or Lyft driver to a techie working in a startup to a
freelance writer, a photographer,
a photographer, somebody
a real
in
estate
journalism,
agent.
a real estate agent.
And yes, but they got an exemption.
Oh,
they were exempt from
now.
This
This is now in the Capitol. You guys are trying to wrestle with this and come up with some sort of solution that keeps this whole thing from going into effect. How's it going? Nobody seems to want to touch it.
Well, it's a little difficult right now because you have labor has come out very clearly saying that we don't want a hybrid approach. You're either an independent contractor or you're an employee. That's it. Where the gig economy, the Ubers, the Lyfts, the DoorDashes, and the Postmates, they'd like to see a third kind of avenue where you give certain rights, certain benefits to those drivers and everything, but you don't. They're still independent, and many of those drivers want to be independent.
Oh, some of them work
like
for 2 or 3 of the companies at the same time. They've got the stickers on the back. Whatever the phone comes up, they go with this.
And they can set the time, the hours, and everything else. But that would not be allowed under that former decision.
Okay, so what we're having up now is a 21st century fight with technology and all of these new companies versus the old brick and mortar, in some ways, unions and labor.
Yes.
And which side has the biggest sway?
Well, in Sacramento, you and I both know labor has a lot of sway. But the tech industry is trying to present that this is the 21st century economy, and we have to look at it differently. We have to create a third way or a different path, if we want to be sustainable as that 5th largest economy in the world. And that's the challenge.
Okay, and it's not just gig workers. This could be hospital workers. This
could be hospital workers. It could be doctors. It could be insurance agents.
So there must be
anyone, travel
some other
agents.
big players involved in
a lot of big players.
So you've got everybody.
Everybody wants an exemption. Everybody wants to be exempt. To me, that's not the answer. What we need to do is create a path for business-to-business relationships. And right now, it's very difficult under the ABC test that was defined in Dynamex.
And the ABC test is one, you
can't have control over the person. The other one is that you have to be engaged in an independent trade or profession, independent from the other business.
Okay.
But the B test is the tough one. The B test says you cannot be within the usual course of business.
So a trucking company can't hire independent contractors to drive trucks because it's in the trucking business.
And that's the challenge. And that's with everyone.
Now, if we have everybody up there, and they're probably working the halls more than they are working the open debates on this, there's a good chance that you just have gridlock.
Well, yes.
And nobody wants to touch it. Everybody says so. So, given gridlock, let's say things go the natural course of sustainable life in politics, which is when in doubt, do nothing. What happens?
Well, fortunately, we're under a little time pressure. We've got 4 weeks left in the legislature, so something always is done, as you know, in the last minute. But, I mean, there are other options. The gig economy could go to the ballot. They could draft an initiative. People like their Ubers. They like their Lyfts. They like their DoorDashes. And they could do that and see what the voters feel and change the law that way.
That's what we call a punt.
That's a punt, absolutely. I think the legislature should. I think the governor is interested in this. I think the governor has made comments that he is, and I think the governor, if he gets engaged in this, he can bring together a solution. It may not make everyone happy, but that's politics sometimes.
But this is also something, when we pass a law on this, this is going to be the roadmap for California's economy going forward, because other states don't have this decision.
Correct.
And it's a unique California decision.
It is.
So that is the real wolf at the
That's
door.
the challenge. We have to do it in the right way to protect everyone. We want to protect the workers, but we want to give them that independence as well. And then it's retroactivity, too. This could go back for 4 years.
Oh, let's just throw everything in on
I know.
this.
Well, that's what we're trying to solve as well.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. A Rubik Cube with one piece missing. Okay. I want to thank you, State Senator
Thank you.
Jerry Hill, for joining us this morning.